What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily Podcast, powered by Andrade and Levine Accident Attorneys. It's Thursday. A lot going on. Big-time commitment coming at 2 p.m. Samorian Wingo from St. Augustine, Miami, South Carolina, Florida. He's been a name that's kind of drifted a little bit, but Miami is making a late run here. We will talk about that one in advance of that 2 p.m. announcement. Also got some more I can't even talk right now. Tidbits. Didn't make a full bank. Didn't have enough for a full bank, but we're doing the ATM. So a little smaller version of the bank, just some tidbits, some stuff in the notebook. They're talking to some people yesterday. So we'll do that and give you the latest in recruiting, team, etc. Also going to review the class of 2003. We're doing that series, reviewing these prior classes. We're in 2003 now, where the decline starts to pick up under Larry Coker. So memory lane, some people think it's fun. Some people think it's depressing. But some folks that are at their top of their game with no decline, Andrade and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Andrade and Levine. Pete, hop in here.
Morning, D. Excited about this show today, as obviously in the title, talking about Samorian Wingo, potentially pulling off a late surprise here. And he's a name that we've gotten a lot of questions about over the past really couple months. And Miami was around, but it didn't necessarily seem like all the eggs were in that basket. And it seemed like they were kind of really focused elsewhere. But we were wondering out loud in the recent weeks, you understand Tristan Keys is their top priority at wide receiver, number one wide receiver in the country. But you know that's going to be a tough recruitment, so you can't really rely on that one. And then seeing how the Jason Lopez thing went, understanding there were a lot of dynamics at play there, being happy with the pickup of Vance Spafford, the flip from Georgia, liking the upside of a Tyron Evans, but still saying, all right, if you don't land Tristan Keys, what are you really doing at the wide receiver spot? And I think this move, if it happens, right, nothing's confirmed yet. He hasn't made any sort of announcement, but things tend to look to be trending in Miami's direction here, right, by all accounts in the last 24 hours. I think that's a good sign in terms of what the wide receiver recruiting looks like, as this is a top 150, top 175 player in the country. I'll pull up his tape here in a second, but it feels like Miami said, you know what, we got to take something. We got to take something. We can't continue losing battles out there. Yeah,
well, it's the Denzel Washington meme I was talking about. They're going to leave here with something, and this would hopefully be a top 200 player in the country. Real quick, shout out to Alec Baldor, watching Big Pete from the hospital, waiting for our next commit to be born. Shout out to Alec, baby Baldor, and Mama in the hospital there as they wait for that one. So yeah, man, when it comes to Samorian Wingo, I think Miami, here's the big, well, I'll get to the big picture in recruiting in a second, but just focusing on Wingo, he's someone Miami had in their camp last year, liked what they saw. They had been recruiting him. He visited. I talked to him after his visit. Strong kid, good size. And, Miami's liked Samorian Wingo. Obviously, they've been in that kind of Calvin Russell sweepstakes, big local player that you don't necessarily want to squeeze out. However, there's a lot of love in the building for Samorian Wingo, and I think once the dust settled a little bit and they had a clear lane at Wingo, they said, let's go get him. Let's go get this player. We want him. And here you see this against American Heritage. So, Pete, I know the question you have, and really I have too, is the twitchiness and speed. But that's American Heritage, and that's a long touchdown run. So that's, I was talking to some coaches about Wingo yesterday, and this play was brought up, that American Heritage play. Like, hey, you're worried about how he can run? Watch him here. He's got great competition. What I like about Wingo, as we look through the film, first of all, good size. I mean, he's legitimate, 6 foot strong. What I like about him, there's really two markers. There's 3 markers. Let's say 4. I'm going down the line that I've typically talked about with receivers on other shows is, first of all, do they have play strength? Because play strength is underrated with receivers. We've seen Lance Leggett. We've seen, to a lesser extent, Stacey Coley, guys who didn't reach their full potential because they just didn't have the strength. And I think strength, when you look at NFL receivers, the guys that make it, they have some strength to them. They don't have to be giant DK Metcalf. They got to have some core wiry strength. And I think this guy's got that. Number 2, route running. He's got nice releases, as you see right there. Number 3, are they productive? Production is not always like lining up exactly with how they play. A lot of times you have guys that are productive that aren't good players from high school to college, and guys that maybe aren't as productive in high school like other guys, but just have better traits. Wide receivers, one of those positions where productive is very predictive. When you go and look at do these studies of guys that make it, 1,000+ yard receiver with good competition. So that's a check for Wingo. And then the last one to me that is a big time check with Wingo is his basketball background. This guy's 16.6 points per game, 6 rebounds, 3.1 steals, 2.5 assists. So this is not just a guy that plays for fun. This is a productive player. Actually, Pete, while you're working there, pull up his basketball highlights. Actually, I'll find it because I was watching him yesterday. I know which one to get. So let me pull up his basketball highlights here. Which that's it's CanesInSight when we're pulling up the basketball highlights. That's just a guy to do it. But this is a talented guy. He had a game with 7 3-pointers. He's a productive basketball player. So that's just something to keep an eye on with him. And that's nice to see a guy that can not just play, but really produce.
I like the size. Brandon's asking if we offer basketball. I don't think that. No, I don't think he's playing basketball in college. But when I talk about size, it's not the height. It's just like the weight he has on him already, and he looks like the body type that can carry a bit more. Obviously, the speed is what we're talking about, the long speed. But not every receiver needs to be that guy. I think that he reminds me, as I told you before the show, a bit of a former Cane. And when I say his name, Canes fans may be like, well, that doesn't make me super excited. But a Rashawn Scott, who was a productive player at Miami, a 6'1", 200+ pound receiver who wasn't afraid to go across the middle, had some injury stuff at Miami, but he was a guy who was in the NFL for a few years, on practice squads, in and off of active lists. So not every player is going to be and I'm not trying to limit what this guy could be, but I think this is at the very baseline, a very, very solid player down the line for you at the wide receiver position, who may not be a game breaker, but can be an extremely productive player at the next level.
Yeah, and this is a comparison that I've used before for Dalen Upshaw, but like he's in that Dalen Upshaw, Allen Hurns kind of family to me, just in terms of the strength, the play strength, the good routes, the size, just rock solid. I know somebody, so just some more on his background for those who's a new name, because we haven't talked about him a ton. Listed at 6'2", 180. I'd say he's probably closer to 6'1", but he's definitely over 6 foot. 180 seems accurate. He is the number 24 receiver in the composite. He's one of those guys that's pretty consistent among recruiting services. Everybody has him in that kind of 20 to 24 range for receivers. Mid 4-star player, 160th ranked recruit in the country. So there's a real prospect. It's not like a sleeper. He visited South Carolina. He visited Florida, visited Miami. I believe he may have also visited Alabama. I know Alabama was in there. So this was a recruit that was highly recruited. Florida had been the favorite for a long time before Miami made this last surge here. So this is, it's not like a sleeper necessarily, but the reason I think Miami really has been Calvin Russell situation, working through, the Jason Lopez Van Spat, for doing a lot of things. So I think when the dust settled a little bit and it was just a clearer runway with Wingo, it's like, can this guy help us win championships? And it absolutely can. So, let's go get him. And then you put the brakes on. It's a little different, when it comes to it's kind of like free agency, man. It's like, it's just different than recruiting used to be. Are they worth an offer? If so, get them. And clearly this guy's worth an offer, but now in the NIL kind of era, that process is just a little more dynamic. And you got local situations, you got out of state situations, it's the timing. There's a lot that goes into it, but I mean, I think ultimately this is a guy that they had in camp that they really, really liked. That and I'm going to get to this question, TJ, in the ATM, not quite the bank yet, but I'll get to that question that you just asked about Tristan Keys. But I think with Wingo, like I said, guy that checks a lot of boxes, a highly rated player. This guy's going to have Miami's class going up in the rankings. He's not a sleeper. A guy that big schools are after, has a lot of traits that people like as I pull up the basketball because, we got to do this. But
it's funny. I just looked up Rashawn Scott's stats to make sure I wasn't going to completely, disrespect this kid. And Rashawn Scott had 2 seasons over 500 yards sandwiched within a year where he was hurt and only played 2 games. But in that last year, had 700 yards, 5 touchdowns. Remember that play against Jalen Ramsey? He made it against Florida State.
He killed that game.
Yeah, he was a good player at Miami. If not for the injuries, I think he would have been thought of, a lot higher by Canes fans.
And
it was just not a great era.
Yeah, and he played in the and I want to say he played in the NFL. Like he had like a
he did. He played as he was with the Dolphins. Yeah, he was active with the Dolphins, here and there, but he was on practice squad making 6 figures a year at least. So
let's see his basketball here, Pete. Size up his game. Nice little shot.
Good looking shot. Yeah, doesn't look too herky jerky.
Finds the space.
Looks good, man. Looks good. Yeah, good set shot.
This guy's a real basketball player. I mean, he averaged almost 17 points, and he's playing real competition. That's another thing about this guy. One thing about Rashawn Scott is that he came from kind of weak competition and dominated. This guy was productive against real teams. I like his body type too. I mean, you look at him; he's a sturdy guy. I mean, just look at his shoulders. This is not a guy that is going to be knocked around by receivers, which I think is another reason why he's been productive against good competition. He just has that play strength.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions here, D, kind of about what this means for the rest of the receiver class. So, I don't know if you want to wait. You're going to wait for that now in the ATM.
Get there. We'll get there. A question here from, let's see. I had a question here. There you go. I'm going to get to another basketball highlight too because I can't get enough. Heart of Sports saying, if I was Wingo, I wouldn't commit to Miami. Who wants to be an obviously backup plan? It's not a backup plan. I think it's really, to me, more about the modern recruiting era, and this is going to sound like just like political talk, but I'm trying to say, like,
state media, baby. Here he is.
There's a lot of stuff that you have to balance in the NIL era, particularly when it comes to like local recruits, just timing. There's a lot of moving pieces. So if this was like I remember back in the day, it used to be like you'd get like a backup plan, hey, this guy doesn't come, we're going to offer this kid, right? And if not, he's not worth an offer. That's a backup plan. This guy was an offer all day. They would have taken him in 2 seconds. It's more about just certain timing things, certain budgetary things, certain things that need to kind of line up. There's in the NIL era, one word that you hear me use a lot is timing. Timing is very, very important for a lot of reasons. There's just so many moving parts. Things have to kind of align sometimes. And I think with Wingo, the timing has made sense. There's a clear runway to the player, and they want to get this player. So it's, hey, let's go get him. But you see the schools that are after him. I mean, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, these schools are look at that pass. See that pass, Pete?
No, I didn't. Sorry. I was going to reply in the chat.
Yeah. Check out this pass right here. Okay, so here we go. There's the 3. We know he's got the shot. Look at this one right here. I know you're going to like this one, Pete. Here we go. Look at the overall skill set here. Taking the ball up. Boom, no look. It's a nice pass.
Nice. It's nice. Is he playing quarterback or receiver?
Hey, listen, it's called being an athlete. Brandon says, I live up here. The competition is good. Look at the block. I'm telling you, man, we watch all these basketball highlights. This guy's one of the better basketball players we've seen.
Yeah, he really is. No, he really is. I like his composure out there too. Yeah, no, he's playing the game at his own pace. A lot of these football players, because they're the best athletes on the floor, are just they're going 100 miles an hour and not really playing at their speed. He's, as they say, let the game come to you. Like, he's not trying to force the issue. These are clips, but it seems like his demeanor out there is he's a real basketball player. He's not just trying to be a brute bully out there.
Steals. So, some questions about Calvin Russell and how he compares, which is interesting. So Calvin Russell, I would say, has more spring. If I'm comparing Calvin Russell to Wingo, the one advantage that Russell's going to have, I mean, he's taller, but I think the real advantage Russell has is he's got at 6'5", he's got that spring. Whereas Wingo, the question with him is going to be, the twitchiness, the explosiveness. Although, again, when I asked about that, I was referred to that American Heritage play where he scored a very long touchdown against a lot of Division I corners. Look at that move, dude. That's real basketball right there, Pete. That's real hoops. This guy's got moves. But I think Russell, when you watch him on the basketball court, he's 6'5", he's springy, he's getting every single rebound. He's kind of a raw player. Whereas this guy, his basketball game is kind of like his football game. You know, he knows how to run routes. I watch all his film, watch his junior, sophomore. This guy can run routes, a variety of routes. He catches the ball with his hands. He knows how to run after the catch. He's very composed, just like like you said, he is on the basketball court, Pete. He's like that. Another nice pass, man. This guy's balling. You know, the way he plays basketball is the way he plays football. Calvin Russell, the way he plays basketball, springy, athletic, rebounds, good effort, good size. That's how he plays football. So just kind of different kinds of players. But I think this is a guy that Miami was very, very excited to be in the mix for this late. And we said it's like the Denzel Washington meme. It's we're going to leave here with something, and hopefully they can leave here with the Wingo. TJ Preble saying a top 5 player, 6'3" wide receiver. Everyone should be hyped about a guy like this. I don't think he's 6'3", but yes, he is a highly rated player.
Brandon,
yeah. Go ahead. No, I'm going to give you props first. Raising Cane saying, I see how Pete's still getting in condition wise for that DT number 5.
Yeah, man. Let's keep it going. I'm trying my best. Brandon says he wants him on the basketball team. Listen, I'll ask about him. I'll be at the facility today. I have interviews with Trey Donaldson, Malik, and Ernest Uday. So I'll see if he's on their radar. But I don't think so. I don't think there's been any talk of him being a basketball guy as well.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either. That's more on the football side. That's just kind of, I think that when they talk about basketball, it's more about just the fact that this guy's a good player, right? He's someone that speaks to his athletic ability. Peony Boys, appreciate you. Says, let's set up a 3-on-3. Who's in it? Me, Pete, and somebody else? Or is it going to be Russell Wingo and someone else? Get Jason Lopez out there.
Get Jason Lopez out there.
We'll see what's going on. Tristan Keys plays some basketball too. Rob's saying basketball recruiting on another level. Yeah, Pete's going to have all that covered. You're not going to have a better insider on the basketball team than Pete, and he's going to do some private interviews.
Trenton. I would say throw Trenton. Yeah.
Definitely throw Trenton in the mix. Question from 26 asking, how does Wingo compare to like a Chance Robinson? I would say they're both good-sized players, like strong, over 6 foot, body, college ready. I'd say Chance Robinson is like in that plus category. Like I'd say, Wingo solid size, very solid size. Robinson, I'd say, is plus sized. And I don't mean that like plus size, like you're talking about a girl, plus size, meaning like his attribute of physical strength is above average. So I would say that. I'd say Wingo's probably maybe a little more athletic, at least from what I've seen. But I've seen Chance play more. So, he's just got to see him play. He's asked that a lot. Now I want to see him on the field playing because I liked his comment. I liked what he did on the clips. Michael Quinones saying DP to Mike versus the comment sections, the 3-on-3 he was talking about.
Mike's gonna have to be the rim protector.
Yeah, he's the most experienced in that one. Dizzy Dean, good wide receiver. If we add Wingo and Lopez, we'll see on Lopez. That one, who knows? I think right now, if you can add Wingo, and you're talking about Wingo, Evans, and Spafford, I think that you've added some really good players, but I don't think that's going to preclude you from continuing to pursue wide receivers. And I'm going to get into that in a second. Let's see. Full-time photography. You really know how to encourage a player to come to Miami if you might be the hidden gem. Players listening to y'all. Players never come. Y'all don't sound enthusiastic about this player. I'm fired up about this guy. I think this is a guy that has all the attributes I like, which is core strength, route running, production, and the basketball. When those are receivers, those are the attributes that it's not just a Wingo thing. You've heard me on other shows. Those are the things I kind of keep coming to when it comes to wide receivers. Those tend to translate to success at that particular position. And I think Wingo's got a whole lot of that.
I just compared him to one of the more productive receivers in recent Miami history in the last 10 years. I'm excited about him too. Listen, guys, there's a lot of commitments. We also can't sit up here and claim that every player is the greatest recruit in the world just to hype people up. So there's a balance that, we're just trying to tell it how we think it is, or how we think we see it, or what people around the building are saying. So I think we both spoke very highly of this guy, mentioning how he's a top 150, 175 player. I mean, we're excited. It's just, we're not saying he's Randy Moss either.
Yeah, look, you got to see what they have when they get on campus. I mean, I think the comp I had for him, again, I put him in that same bucket as Dalen Upshaw, who was one of my favorite recruits last year. I was kind of driving that bandwagon. And then Alan Hearns, who we saw 1,000-yard receiver in the NFL, very productive receiver at the University of Miami. I think he also had a 1,000-yard season at the University of Miami. So I put him in that bucket. It's going to be about work. And if he can be one of those type of guys, well, certainly if he could be like Hearns, that's a pretty great career. Peanut Boy saying, who's our Horton this year? I feel like our wide receivers aren't big body wide receivers. CJ Daniels, if we're talking about the team, CJ Daniels, 100%. In fact, I talked to somebody at Miami who said CJ Daniels will be better than Isaiah Horton. Certainly, who knows what Horton does this year at Alabama. But as far as like the Horton that we saw last year, they think CJ Daniels this year is going to be a better player than that. I think Beck loves that type of receiver. He loves contested catch wide receivers. He's going to place the ball where it needs to be placed and allow those guys to kind of box out, extend, use their size. So I would say if there's an Isaiah Horton this year, it's going to be CJ Daniels. But people in the building think that Isaiah Horton is not, or that CJ Daniels is going to be better than what Isaiah Horton was.
We've had a few questions here on James Johnson, obviously the 5-star D tackle from Northwestern who flipped from Georgia to Texas. People are asking if we think he's going to stick, if there's another flip. My view on it is, just talking to some people around Miami, that do I know if he's going to stick or not? I don't know. I also don't see Miami getting involved in what it looks like that situation is right now.
Yeah, and look, these things change. I think here's the big thing with James Johnson, and I would say really with any Florida kid. We get a lot of questions about like NIL kind of like contracts basically, and like how easily they are to flip. Florida kids, there's like a clawback provision, and I am not speaking as a lawyer here because I don't have the information that I would need to speak super confidently on this. I'm just kind of repeating what I've been told. So I'm not like putting this, like I've looked at these contracts and understand them. That's the disclaimer. But what I'm told is that there's, some contracts have clawback language basically, where if you pay the kid NIL before he goes to college and the kid goes somewhere else, they can claw back that money. So like, let's say you're committed to Texas, and I think Texas might be one of these states. Let's say Missouri. I know Missouri is one of these states, which by the way, we have Jackson Cantwell committed from Missouri. So that law might favor us in that scenario, make it harder for Jackson Cantwell to flip it. Not that he's going to, but that if he wanted to. So let's say you're recruiting a kid in Missouri and the kid wants to flip to Nebraska, whatever. Theoretically, the Missouri's paying the kid money, they can claw it back if he goes to Nebraska, and then the kid have to pay the money back to Missouri before he goes to Nebraska. So obviously it makes it harder to decommit. From what I understand, Florida, which is where James Johnson lives, I think he's originally from New Jersey, but he is in Florida. He's playing for Miami Northwestern right now. Derek Cooper, who we're talking about here in a second, who's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, or Hollywood, Florida. Those guys, if they left, they do not have. I don't believe Florida NIL contracts have that clawback language, so it's easier for them to get out and decommit or whatever in Florida than in other places, from what I am told. So that's something just to kind of keep in mind when it comes to these later flips. Dizzy Dean, what's the next Canes Connection Zoom? I'm gonna really crank those up when we get to the camp. See, like during camp, because I want to do those maybe every week so you guys can know what's going on in practice. So if you want to know what's going on in camp, the stuff that I cannot say in a public setting because we don't want other teams stealing our info, CanesConnection.com/CIS, CanesConnection.com/CIS. Join Miami's official collective. If you use that CanesConnection.com/CIS, I'll pull it up right now so everybody can see. Here we go. Hold on. Use that CanesConnection.com/CIS. You will get access to all that practice information. You're probably not going to hear formations and stuff like that, but you'll hear about who's doing what there at CanesConnection.com/CIS. Any price point, just use the /CIS and you get access to that. Plus you get 20% off your first month. So that's answering that question. When does camp start? Green Tree still under construction. I have the exact date.
I don't think we're supposed to say it. Don't say it.
Thank you for reminding me. It's like it's always in the end of July.
It's the last week of July. It's the last week of July. But yes, don't say it. We've been told not to say it.
Thank you for reminding me.
A question from Hassan, which I think it's a valid question here, asking why people like Pete Nakos care about how much Miami's paying players. Not mentioning Texas when they're breaking the bank and all you hear is crickets. Miami hate is real. I think there's a few sides to it. Number one, these reports are always coming from the agents. This is just what it is, because the agents like the numbers to be out there so that they can see, so that other people can see the work that they've done. I think when you talk about Miami and in certain situations, the Carson Beck thing has been reported a million times, as we talked about with Mike yesterday, and it's always seems to be a different number, and it's always reported as fact. So I think that should show you that nobody really knows what the exact number is, even if stuff's being floated out there by the agent. But I think that the Texas numbers come out eventually too. I think we have a microscope on what happens at Miami. I see numbers from other schools all the time. I really do. And
yeah, I think Texas now too is getting some hype. Like, because
we may not know what James Johnson's number is not right now, but I'm sure that will
it might change.
Yeah. So yeah.
So all right. So we'll see there. Michael Quinones says Pete needs more Islas to get to DT5. Well, listen, that's always a good idea to go to Islas Canarias Cuban Express, the #1 Cuban restaurant in.
I got it ready.
Oh, you got it on the planet. Islas Canarias Cuban Express. Again, shout out to Eileen Andrade getting married this weekend in Spain, the queen of Islas Canarias, and one of the most acclaimed chef. If you don't know who Eileen Andrade is, Google her. She's on billboards and stuff, because on top of all the stuff she does with Islas Canarias, which is more kind of traditional Cuban food, she's also an innovative chef using all kinds of cuisine at her restaurants, Finca Amelia's, both high-end spots, and then this one right here, high-end food, but everyday prices right there in the Dayland Mall Dining Pavilion. 7 different types of croquetas, different flavors, traditional, new, you name it, even the Venezuelan flavors there as well. So Islas Canarias Cuban Express, #1 Cuban restaurant on the planet. All right, Pete, let's get into the ATM here. So for those who don't know, I think most of you probably follow us pretty close. I am the owner of a website called CanesInSight.com. Let's give you the exact numbers, 498. So we're 2,000 away. We're a Wingo commitment away from 7.5 million post and counting. Let's pull up the website right here so you guys can see what it looks like. Oh, you got it up there, Pete. Yeah, so I got the website, and then on there I will post for free. Everything's free to sign up. Just go there, sign up for free. Giant Canes community, plus you get exclusive news. I'll post the bank, which usually will tell you about recruiting stuff before it happens. Most exclusive info for free anywhere on the internet. So I didn't have enough for a full bank today, but I talked to some sources. So I got to drop the ATM. Let's call it a mini bank. Just quick tidbits I wanted to talk about. So Wingo, you heard about that. But here's one thing I want to add to this. I think Miami has a great chance to get Samorian Wingo. That would be my prediction, but we'll see how it goes. I think Miami has a great chance to get him. I think he'd be a very good player for us. That does not, I repeat, does not preclude us from getting a 4th wide receiver, specifically Tristan Keys, 5-star out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Miami is going to make that run at Tristan Keys. They already have been recruiting. He's been on campus multiple times. He's been to South Florida itself 4 times since March, or since January. So Miami is going to go all in on Tristan Keys while also trying to land an excellent player in Samorian Wingo. So I wouldn't look at it like Samorian Wingo is taking a Tristan Keys spot or anything like that. In fact, I think Miami very likely could end up with 4 wide receivers in this class. And if you're talking about the 4th wide receiver, if you do land Wingo today, start the list at the top. #1 player, number one receiver in the country, maybe the number one player. Who knows? Tristan Keys, the 5-star out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So that one's still very much alive. Last I heard, these things go back and forth. 2 weeks ago when I reported, I think that the motion was going more towards Texas A&M, Tennessee. Miami is going to take their swing there. They already have been, but it's going to continue. So keep an eye on a Tristan Keys. The other prediction I had here, along with Wingo, is I think we're going to add another player. I don't know who it is. Look, Brett Kaloje, big money kind of battle there with USC and some others. We'll see where that one goes. There's a few balls in the air, but I do think we add one more player on top of Wingo if we get Wingo today. So I would say that's the prediction. We're going to add, I think we'll add Wingo. I don't know that for sure, but that'd be my prediction. And then I think we would also land another player. One guy and this is not, I'm not saying I'm predicting this player to Miami, but one guy I'd keep an eye on here, Cortez Redding. We haven't talked about him a lot. 4-star out of Atlanta, visited unofficially, also visited officially. Much of the focus has been on Tyreek Green going to Georgia, Blake Stewart going to Clemson. Obviously, those guys were big targets. Cortez Redding has a lot of fans in Miami. He's not the biggest guy, but he's not tiny. And he's a 4-star player. He's got a lot of talent, athletic, hits hard, knows how to play. So he's one guy. I'm not predicting him to go to Miami. I could see us kind of how with Wingo, you saw that push. I could see that with a Redding just because he has really a lot of fans and a lot of ability. Derek Cooper. I would pick Derek Cooper today to Texas if I had a pick. But just being around this game and kind of knowing some of the stuff I know, I could see this one swinging a couple times before Sunday. There's just a lot of time until Sunday. I think Texas. I do, based on what I know. But this is not one that I just put the prediction in and sit for a week. I think this is one that there's a lot of communication going on with a lot of different parties. So I would just say that one's kind of a moving situation right now. But look, if I had to predict, it would be Texas. But keep an eye on that one. And I was thinking, keep an eye for Miami, although Miami is, in communication with Cooper. I would say keep an eye on everybody. I mean, they are communicating at a high level, let's say. I talked about a lot of these guys on Team Buzz, so I'm going to make sure there's no one I haven't talked about. But one name that keeps being brought up to me, Kellen Wiley Jr., out of Seth Armwood, the freshman that Miami stole on signing day from University of Texas, where he was going to go he was going to go to join that number one class, ends up flipping to Miami. Huge late bloomer, was a 3-star player, ended up being a 4-star player by the end. Really, I think he was like a no-star player. I mean, no one knew about this guy. Then out of nowhere, he's a 4-star by the end of the year because he's so talented. I'm told he's one of the biggest size speed freaks on the team. And I said, well, obviously it's an adjustment. Is he going to contribute year one? And the response I heard was he has to. He's just too talented that he's going to find a way to get on the field year one. So Kellen Wiley, someone to keep an eye on as a freshman. I'm just trying to kind of rack my brain. Again, we talked about this on the Team Buzz segment we did a couple of days ago, but I continue to get a lot of talk about Motore, just how he's going through conditioning, his speed, his movement skills. That is a name that is just extremely buzzy when it comes to the transfer portal. I think in general, one thing I heard was, listen, you guys are going to see, because I have not seen these players because spring they were not there. So really no one's seen them except for the people in that building. But what I was told was, guys, this spring portal window was a much bigger hit than people realize. I can't say that's true or not. I have not seen them in practice yet. Like I saw, like I was able to see, some of the guys that came in the first portal window, so I could hype those guys up that I like because I saw them. When it comes to and just to be specific, Keelan Marion from BYU, Tony Johnson from Cincinnati, a wide receiver, both those guys. Who else do we bring in spring? Keontae Scott at that nickel corner, Jacoby Thomas, the safety from Tennessee, Motore, the linebacker from Rutgers, Kamal Bonner, the linebacker from NC State. Anybody else missing? About the kicker in as well, Bert Auburn. Anybody else missing, Pete, that we brought in from the spring? Oh, Marty Brown, that running back. So I'm told those names are very, very interesting.
Yeah, Marty.
And they're generating a lot of
Marty. I'm pumped about Marty. We talked about it recently, but I think he's going to be a big part of what this offense does.
and they need to perform. Obviously, I see them, but the word I'm getting is keep an eye for the spring guys. Those are going to be a hit. You guys don't know yet because you're not seeing them, but these guys are going to be a hit. So these are just things that I've heard as we get ready. And Birdstone saying 2 weeks away from fall camp. Let's go. Birdstone also very wise words. Let the Cooper thing play out. You never know what may happen. My only prediction on the Cooper thing is that I don't predict it to be a smooth sail. I don't see it being he commits to Texas here on Sunday and then he signs with Texas and there's no drama. I just have that one feels to me like something will happen at some point, whether it's now here between now and Sunday, whether it's between Sunday and signing day, we'll see. I know Miami's going to be in there for a while. But look, finances are involved, balancing a lot of different things. You got to figure it all out. But yeah, keep an eye on that situation. I don't know how it's going to go. I'll tell you that with honesty. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how many people do. Base Duran saying Will Funk logged the crystal ball for Will to Miami. So yeah, that one's looking like there's momentum building there, and I think will be a great pickup. So good comment from Bo Handsome. I want to get to the last portal cycle. We went from getting roster fillers for depth to guys who actually will be key contributors and get heavy snaps. And Pete, I want you to talk about this as well. But I think as you go from having to fill the roster because it's so bad, where you just need bodies at certain spots, to now having recruits that you actually like and want to see play, that's allowing us to increase the quality of what we're doing.
I think we should give a little more credit to the last portal cycle as well. Wait, are we talking about last year or the one in December?
I think he's just talking. I think he's saying.
I mean, listen, we got the number one pick of the draft. We got.
No, I think he said that drafted running. This last portal cycle. Well, maybe I don't know what he's talking about, but yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you got the number one pick of the draft. You got an All ACC defensive tackle who wasn't drafted, but he was an All ACC defensive tackle. You got a drafted running back who was your number one back. I want to give a little bit more credit. I don't want to say that. I think you're gonna, unfortunately, have roster fillers in every single portal class you take. You did pretty well last year. You didn't get all your needs. You didn't get the corners you needed, but let's give a little bit more credit to that group. I don't want to down them, D.
No, I appreciate you saying that. And I agree with you. In terms of you can't down, like this started.
Tyler Barron was brought in with the expectation to not be a roster filler, and he definitely started where there was disappointment. But like I wouldn't classify him as a roster filler at the time either. So let's pump the brakes a little bit on that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this has not been. I agree with the premise, but I don't think it's been like overnight. I think it's been a steady, like your first class, you just really were triaging, and then as it goes, the portals get more and more talented. And here I'll give you an example. So 2024, so Mario got in here 2022, right? So the 3 draft picks, Tyreek Stevenson, transfer under Manny, Will Mallory, DJ Ivy, guys that signed with Rick. Then 2024, you had 2 transfers in that class, Matt Lee and Jaden Davis, both 7th rounders, but they both were drafted. Jaden Davis, a transfer from Oklahoma, Matt Lee, a transfer from UCF. Then you go to last year. Obviously, Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick. Francisco Mauanoa, Kiko Mauanoa, 5th round pick to the Jets. Tyler Barron, 5th round pick to the Jets. Damian Martinez, 7th round pick to the Seattle Seahawks. By the way, I heard they love him there, and I heard they love Arroyo. They think Arroyo's the rookie of the year. So
no, I told you, Mark. I told that the other day. Martinez has gotten himself in tremendous shape.
Yeah, and he's a tough runner. We know that. So if just by my math, Ward, Mauanoa, Barron, Martinez, Jaden Davis, Matt Lee. So Cristobal, just since he's been here, 6 players that are portal guys that have been drafted. So that's pretty interesting, I think. 6 portal guys getting drafted already. And now, who knows who's going to get drafted out of this portal group that you just brought in. I think Carson Beck, if he has any kind of season, has a chance to be one of those guys. We'll see. But that to me shows you that you're continuing to add not just guys that can fill out a roster, but guys that have NFL ability. And the upside is number 1 overall, which is Cam Ward. So you're getting the all the way up and down that draft portal guys.
Brian says, I'd like to see some data on portal commits versus high school commits and which player type produces more would be a cool metric to know. We've done some, I wouldn't call them studies, but I know D, you've done some stuff recently and, earlier in the off season, kind of on like how important it is to be successful in both the portal and high school. But I think that sort of data will now become more available here in the next year or two, once we have 4 or 5 years of this portal, right? Because the data is still a bit limited. And I think for every team, it's going to be a different situation. A lot of these guys who were high school recruits at one place were successful at one place and then ended up being successes as a transfer as well. So you got to kind of say, okay, maybe the smaller school guys, the guys who weren't high P4, and then you look at the other group of players. And then you have the other group of players who maybe weren't great as high school recruits at other programs, and then go to another program and become successes. So it's going to be an interesting thing to look back at, though.
And these things change. So, like, I would say the portal's so new that it's got to kind of just fill out a little bit, get some more data. And also, like, remember, like, everybody goes in the portal. So, like, the guys that we don't want and that like are like the worst player on our team that jumps in the portal, that's a portal player for someone else. So that, I would say, the better comparison, Brian, and you raise an interesting point. I think this would be something when we have more time, you can kind of do it better, is like, let's say, how do 4-star portal commits, and the portal ratings are evolving as well. But let's say, how does a 4-star portal commit compare to a 4-star high school recruit? What's that number? And I would bet, if I had to guess, my hypothesis would be portal would be better because they're 4 stars based on things that they've already done in college, whereas a 4-star in high school is total projection. I know a 4-star player in high school is less than 25% chance to go to the NFL, which is why, by the way, when people say, like, when I talk about somebody, Pete, like, we always talk about, like, just to use examples, like a John Ford, a Jaden Davis, a DJ Ivy, and they're like, oh, Matt Lee, they're like 7th round pick. Who cares about a 7th round pick? There's a less than 25% chance that a blue chip player goes to the NFL. So if you are a NFL player, even as a 7th rounder, you are in the top 25% of 4-star players, really, blue chip players. So that's a pretty good outcome, right? Because blue chips already, the odds are in your favor. Then you're in the top 25% of that. I'd say that's a pretty good outcome. So I think people need to understand why we use NFL measurements so much. And if Brian, I think when we have more time, just more data in the bank, maybe 5 years from now, still be doing this show, still be going daily. CanesInSight.com will probably have 30 million posts and counting. But we'll do a breakdown like that, I think. Bo Hansen clarifying, I agree with him. He said, that was my point. The amount of talent in our portal additions have progressively increased each year from 2022 to now, from 2 to 3 good players to now having 4 to 5 good pickups.
Yeah. Agreed. I think that every year you gotta move it forward. Then eventually, yes, you don't want the number to keep going up every year, because that means you're struggling in high school recruiting. But the portal's here to stay, man. I don't agree with the sentiment that we shouldn't be aggressive in the portal. It's just not realistic in today's day and age.
Yep. Over 1,000 people, over 1,100, almost 1,200 on. Like and subscribe to the show if you're new. Raising a Cane wants to know, Pete, how excited are you for basketball? All the hype videos they're showing to the squad this year.
Yeah, shout out to there's a new SID, Evan Roberts, who's taken over. But Megan Barnes, who was the previous SID, told me earlier this summer, she said, we are going to make it a point to be a lot more aggressive on social media in terms of connect. Because last year, I think there was an issue with this 2D. You had an entirely new roster, and I don't think, not that it really mattered. Like, the team was so bad last year, but there was not really an introduction period for the fan base, which is, I think in football we see, like, we tend to know a lot more about the transfers coming in, because I think there's more media stuff out there about them, and more interviews and stuff like that. So I'm excited now. They've been miking up a lot of these guys. You get to see their personalities in play. And like I said, today I will be in the facility this afternoon. We're getting interviews with Malik Renau. I'm going to confirm that's how you pronounce the name. I've heard it both ways. Trey Donaldson. I'm really excited to talk to Trey Donaldson about this football side, D, because he was a 4-star recruit committed to Auburn. And I didn't realize this, but going back and looking at it, when he committed to Auburn, the expectation from the fan base was he's coming for football. He's not here to play basketball. And then he didn't even play football. He then you look at his Instagram page, there's nothing about football. It's all basketball. So I want to get the story there, see, his mentality. Obviously, he's built kind of like a football player. We could have used some of that physicality at safety this year on the depth chart. So I'm excited to kind of get that backstory. He went to Florida State University High in Tally. So that's the other thing, kind of hear his backstory. Did he grow up as a Knoll? His mom played softball at Florida State from what I've seen too. So that should be a good one. And then Ernest Ude, I think just seeing videos of him moving around, it's a big physical athlete who can get up and down the floor. And he's a vet. This is not a young kid who sometimes these big guys, like the trenches in football, they aren't physically ready to bang in there. And I think he's ready to go. So excited to talk to those three guys today. Of course, all the basketball coverage brought to you by Aries Law. Check out Aries Law. PA.com. Schedule a free consultation. This is estate planning. So trusts, wills, probate. Again, set your free consultation. You can do it online or in person. His office is in Coral Gables, headed towards Brickell. So AriesLawPA.com.
No, looking forward to those interviews and just seeing the kind of mentality. I get the sense these guys are going to be pretty aggressive type of dudes in a good way, like just good character guys. Jay Lucas has been so focused on adding defensive-minded players, grit. I mean, it's very much the Heat model where people say Heat culture, but the Heat bring in guys that have that mentality. By the way, here's Trey Donaldson right here, number 2. Let's see how. Oh, boom. Let's go. Let's see. All right, some physicality. Let's go. This is an old clip too. I think this might have been earlier in his career. There, see him playing safety. Yeah, this guy would have been.
I'm telling you, he was a top 200 recruit in football. He was a highly rated 4-star recruit. So it's I don't know, man.
I'm watching one clip, and I hate to be the person to say this, but you don't even say. He should have played, dude. I mean, look at this guy. This guy is sick. I mean, that was just that one play. He ball was behind him, catches it with his hands, breaks a million tackles, takes it to the house. He's huge in basketball, he's a smaller guard, but in football, safety wise, he's 6'1" plus.
People are going to sign on here live now and be like, man, we got a new safety we're recruiting. I wish we could have him in this class, man. He's better than half the guys I've been recruiting.
So this people don't, the dude. So this is Trey Donaldson is the Michigan transfer at point guard, big time transfer from Miami's
started his career at Auburn actually, and committed to them for football. Look at that.
This guy should have played football. I'm sorry, I hate to say it. I'm excited to see him play basketball. I think he's gonna be a great player for us. But I mean, dude,
Trinity Christian. Look at this. This is against Trinity Christian here.
Yep. If I would have seen these highlights in high school, I'd be going.
Look at him. Look at him coming. Look at him track him down.
Oh. I'm telling you, man, this guy is a real football player. I don't know what.
I gotta get the story, man. I'm telling you, because like I went through his Instagram and he doesn't have a single football picture. So I don't know if he was just all basketball but the way he's playing the game, he doesn't play the game of football like a guy who doesn't look at him. I mean, this is not like a guy. Yeah, crazy.
Man, now I'm kind of like sad that this guy's not on our team right now. Imagine this guy at safety for the Canes.
Listen, he's on campus, man. Who knows what could happen? Maybe he says he wants to give it one more go next year.
Can you imagine this guy next to Poyser? He'd be getting one-hand interceptions, knocking people out.
Who did that? Remember Ray Shipman?
Yes, his sister is an attorney at my law firm. Very smart lady. Shout out to Raina.
So yeah, remember he started his career at Florida as a basketball player, had an okay career, and then ended up playing safety at USF his last year.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's funny. I know his sister very well. Like I said, she's an attorney at my firm, Raina Shipman. But man, this dude right here.
That's right. He was a quarterback too, by the way.
I like that he's playing basketball for the Canes, and he's going to make a huge impact. It's
UCF. Ric Flair said UCF. Sorry.
Yeah. But I like that this guy's playing for the Cane basketball hoops, because he's going to make a major difference just with his toughness and the big shot making, which you saw in Michigan. This guy was a big shot maker for him in big games last year. So I am very happy that he's wearing orange and green in some uniform. But man, I am blown away by his safety highlights. Like he looks like,
He legitimately looks better than a lot of the guys that they've recruited this year.
I mean, all of them. All of them. If I were to see these highlights, I could tell you, and it's like I would have him at the top, knowing that he played basketball too. Because I mean, he's his size in football is plus. He's knocking people out. He's taking interceptions to the house. There you see it again. Yeah, I'd probably have him. I'd have him over Blake Stewart. I'd have him over Tyree Green. I'd have him over Redding. I'd have him over every safety we're after, just based on these highlights. I haven't seen him live or anything, but just based on these highlights, and knowing that he had that background of basketball as well.
Listen, when I talk to him today, I'm gonna show him this segment so we can show him our breakdown of his football highlights.
Listen, if you're wondering why me and Pete are so focused on basketball players, it's because like this guy who didn't even play football, his football highlights are better than 95% of the DBs we're recruiting. And you never even would have thought of it. These guys are just such good athletes. Plus, they have size. In basketball, he's an undersized point guard. He's got more than enough size for an ACC point guard. He's 6'2". He's strong. He's actually, I say he has good size for an ACC point guard. But in safety, he's like plus, plus NFL size as a safety. And then the physical part of the game is no issue there.
Any last recruiting pitch, D?
No, listen. I mean, I don't know the rules. Like what his eligibility status is, because he's an older guy. These are 2020 highlights, so he's been around for a minute. But listen, I think, I'm trying to think of guys that have played safety, kind of moonlighting. Who was that? You wouldn't know this in the comments. I know Brian Jordan was a guy, doesn't get talked about as far as like the greatest athletes in the history of sports, but Brian Jordan. And I hope I'm not butchering the name.
You are getting upset now. Green Tree All America says, send the film to Mario and Heatherman. What are we doing?
So seriously. So Brian Jordan, who's was a stud baseball player, right fielder. I remember he was always like too jacked for his uniform. For the Atlanta Braves, was a right fielder, very talented, over 30 career WAR, so like a legitimate stud baseball player. He actually played safety for the Falcons for a while and was a good. He might have been all rookie team as a Falcon and playing safety. So, the safety is not a position you think of just showing up and playing, but I think of a Brian Jordan would be my example of someone who's just like, all right, let me play football. Then he goes to, he played in college too. So it wasn't just out of nowhere, but Brian Jordan was able to play NFL safety while also being full-time in a sport like baseball and being actually like a legitimate stud major leaguer. Like, I think he made, how many All-Star teams did Brian Jordan make in baseball? Oh, just one. But I mean, he finished top 20 in MVP voting 3 times. I mean, career WAR 33, legitimate player. Shout out to, and a first round pick in baseball as well. So shout out to Brian Jordan out of the University of Richmond. How did he play football from the University of Richmond? Am I thinking of the right guy? Now I got to make sure I'm not talking about the wrong guy. He did. Yeah, it was Brian Jordan. He went from the University of Richmond. I thought he went to a bigger school. Yeah, look at this, man. That's crazy.
Spiders.
He had 5. Look at this. I thought he was at a bigger school. So listen to this guy. First round of the MLB draft, taken in the 7th round of the football draft from Richmond. He got cut by the Bills, and he goes to the Falcons for really just 3 years. 5 picks and 4 sacks. Alternate in the Pro Bowl. Led Atlanta Falcons in tackles. We got to talk more about Brian Jordan, man. He's one of the best athletes around.
Almost 1,300 live here. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We're live every day, Monday through Friday, really release Monday through Sunday now, with everything that's been going on. Brandon, I don't know if those basketball interviews will be up tonight. We might like debut one of them tomorrow and then post them throughout the weekend. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to post those tonight.
Christian Vale, Jimmy Grant played basketball senior year after playing that one season on the football team. Now he's borderline Hall of Fame kind of guy. Yep. Dominic saying Jalen Suggs played quarterback and safety as well, but chose basketball. That's right. And I think now he didn't play in college because he was already a top 10 pick. So Jalen Suggs made sense to play basketball because he was that high of a basketball prospect. Top 10 pick, you play basketball. But yeah, I do. He kind of reminds me. I think I made this comp when he actually committed. Pete was Jalen Suggs. Not saying he's as good as Jalen Suggs, but just body wise, like being a stronger, tougher player. I saw some similarities with Trey Donaldson to Suggs as you get your basketball situation set up here. Big day of interviews. William Crow saying, as a Braves fan back in the day, Brian Jordan gets overshadowed by Deion. Yeah, man. Honestly, I remember him as a baseball player. So I was shocked to find out that he played football and like was an alternate for the Pro Bowl and only played 3 years and bounced at safety. I mean, that shows you just great athletes are great athletes, man. Yeah, there's a learning curve, but at the end of the day, if you're the best, you're the best, and it doesn't take you long to be the best. So Trey Donaldson, man, you want to do a kind of a Brian Jordan situation, a moonlighted safety, holler at Coach Etheridge and Coach Harris after the season goes, unless you get picked in the first round because you led Miami to the ACC championship, and in which case I apologize. Got to keep that main thing the main thing for now. But man, those are some impressive highlights. We got sidetracked. We weren't even supposed to talk about all that, but that was that caught my attention.
There you go. I mean, it was very entertaining, I have to say.
Yeah, man. So now you got material for your interviews, which again you're going to post them on CanesInSight. Wanted to talk also here Saturday, guys. Set your calendars. Major event. 1 to 2 p.m. at the Miami Hurricane team store. It's going to be an autograph signing. Let me pull it up here. Oh, where we go. But yeah, 1 to 2 autograph signing at Miami Hurricane team store right across the street from the University of Miami. So you know where University of Miami is. You know where the team store is right across the street. And look at this, guys. 1 to 2 p.m. David Blay, Bobby Pruitt, JoJo Trader, Marquise Williams, autographs, pictures, you name it, they're at the team store 1 to 2 p.m. on Saturday. These are great events. People have been in the comments, like I know Johnny Lagoon's been on those, enjoys those. It's great to see how good these kids are and having them interact with your family. And it's just a lot of fun. It's not like a huge crowd where there's plenty of people there, but it's not like, this giant convention where everybody's just kind of running through like a factory, much more personal touch. Plus you're there in the team store, so you can get all kinds of stuff. Promo code INSIGHT20 get you 20% off your first item. So check out the team store Saturday, 1 to 2 p.m. Remember to like and subscribe to the show. Got over 1,200 on. As we get into my favorite segment, reviewing the recruiting classes, Pete. And we're going to go to the class of 2023. So there's an article I've been doing on CanesInSight.com, which really what I do is I go back through old recruiting classes, starting with Larry Coker's first one, which was 2001. That was that transition class with Butch Davis. And now I've been moving class by class. We're now deeply into the Coker era. And as you can see, there's a tremendous drop-off. And Pete pulls up the article here. So stop there, Pete. This class, the class of 2003, what I do is I go and look at these different markers. So total enrollees, basically who made it to campus from the class. Then you look at 4-year winning percentage going forward, from the first year those guys played to the fourth year. What's the winning percentage? Because I want to see how that tracks to the recruiting classes. If it's a really bad class, does that drop? NFL players. If you make the NFL, you make the list. And then total NFL games, day 1 picks, day 2 picks, Pro Bowls. Okay. So you look at this class, 4-year winning percentage, 72%. That's minus 10% from the prior class. So you started with the transition class we talked about on prior episode, where Coker took over for Butch, Frank Gore, Roscoe Parrish, Sean Taylor, Kellen Winslow. That's as good as it gets. Championship class, 88% 4-year winning percentage. In just 2 full Coker classes, 2002 and 2003, that drops 10%. That's how quickly this program fell off with Coker's full classes. 4 NFL players in this class, but very top heavy. You're talking about Greg Olsen and John Beeson, and then a major drop off. And as you can see, P, as you scroll down, Bridge is saying reliving depression, how fun. Liquid saying this is when my heart began to break. It's if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going. You got to understand history to avoid it. So right here, top of the class, Kyle Wright. Pete, did you have any recollection of the Kyle Wright era? I know you're younger.
Of course. Dude, I have recollection of the 01 season. I was there and I remember the 01 season.
What kind of hype did you hear around Kyle Wright as a young kid? Just listen to your parents and
that he was a top 5 player in the country. He had huge arm, California quarterback. That's what the California quarterback thing was always, following Dorsey, but better athlete, bigger arm than Dorsey. It was just like he was supposed to be the guy.
From the same area as Dorsey in the East Bay,
Yeah, exactly.
part of that Bay Area. But man, he just didn't have the instincts, man. I mean, I know people talk about his offensive line was bad and his receivers were bad. That's all true. A lot of offensive coordinators, but the truth is, I saw his first practice on Green Tree. I saw him at the Army All-America game. I mean, he never looked good, man. He never looked good. He just always was his instincts were just not there. He just really, those things were all true as far as the things working against him, but he just didn't have that internal clock, that natural athletic feel to play the position. He had a great arm, great size. He could run fast in a straight line, but just no fluidity or instincts to his game. Greg Olsen, elite player from that New York Metro, basically a bedroom community in New York City there in New Jersey. He signed with Notre Dame, but before the season, because his brother was at Notre Dame. So he signed with Notre Dame, but he wanted to be at Miami. His brother transferred from Notre Dame before he got there. So he's like, oh, if you're not going to be there, I'm not going to be there. So he then transferred to Miami, sat out a year. The rest is history. One of the best players ever to come through the program. Tyrone Moss, 5-star player, dominant player in Pompano Beach, Ely. A lot of people thought this guy was going to be the next. You had Edgar in, you had Willis McGahee, Clint Portis, Frank Gore. So a lot of people thought Tyrone Moss was going to be the next one in that lineage based on his production. And he had some good moments. I was there in Clemson in 2005 when he basically carried us to the win. But ultimately, I think weight problems hurt him there, and it recently passed away. So, I mean, RIP to Tyrone Moss. A lot of tragedy in this class. Obviously, Brian Padda, we don't need to talk about that one. That was one of the worst moments in Miami history, just a complete tragedy. But he was actually he's one of the guys in this class that was a really good player. He's not in Bolts. He didn't make the NFL, but he would have been a second-round, third-round pick if he would have been allowed to, to finish his life. I mean, that was just a tragic situation. But he was a good player, even though he's not listed as one of the hits from an NFL standpoint because of tragedy. Andrew Bain, he's a judge now. Excuse me. He was appointed by DeSantis. So this guy is a big time judge. But football wise, didn't really meet the production you expected. Weight problems. This class had a lot of weight problems. Guys overweight, guys maybe undersized. So there's a lot of that going on in this class. Tavares Good and T Good. He didn't have any weight problems. This guy was jacked. Third round pick for the Ravens. T Good also had a great verse on the 7th Floor Crew. The 7th Floor Crew really had a lot of hit rate. Who's on that song from the Canes? Because Gooden, Beeson, and Olsen all made the pros. There were 3 of the 4 that
Olsen
made the class. Yeah, Olsen, Gooden, and Beeson.
Nuke, Darnell Jenkins.
He was
with the Falcons, I want to say.
Yeah, but he didn't. I don't think he made a roster. So he had 3 out of 4 made the pros. So good hit rate. The hit rate for the 7th Floor Crew is a lot better than the hit rate for the class overall. Kevin Everett, third rounder, obviously had that terrible situation. This is a real starstruck class. He had that situation where he got he hurt his neck, seemed like it might be paralyzed, ended up getting past that, getting his mobility back. He wasn't able to play obviously football anymore, but he was able to walk and enjoy his family. He was on Oprah after that. So first player in the class from Oprah was Kevin Everett, but that was a horrible situation. That could have been a lot worse. Excited that he made it through that. When it comes to Beeson, man, I want to give him some props, Pete, because I don't think Beeson, they talk about enough how good he was as a pro. He had 3 seasons before he tore his Achilles. For his rookie year, sophomore year, second year, third year, he had 140 tackles averaged over those 3. He was first team All-Pro, and then after his third year, he signed the biggest contract for a middle linebacker in NFL history. Tore his Achilles, wasn't the same player after that, but he was on a Hall of Fame track before he got hurt. So Beeson doesn't get enough credit, but he was like absolutely elite. One of the stories I shared in the article was that Randy Shannon actually liked Glenn Cook, his teammate, more than Beeson, because Glenn Cook reminded Shannon of himself as a kind of a smart, under-talented player. Beeson was just a beast. So, not the best evaluation from Shannon, but hey, at least he was here.
He was right about him being a smart guy, as he's, a top exec in the NFL now. He was the assistant GM for the Browns for a while. And I know he's been in a bunch of GM conversations or interviews. He's the assistant GM for the Vikings now.
Yeah, no, the mental evaluation was dead on. He is a very, very. Even at UM, he had that really high.
Or no, not with the Vikings. Excuse me. He was a candidate for the Vikings job a couple of years ago. But yeah.
Yeah, so even he's just got that football IQ. Even at UM, he had that. It was more the physical traits, which Beeson had a lot of those, and Beeson's a smart guy too. Olsen Hall of Fame question from Drago. I think he's got a great chance. It depends. We'll see. It's a different era of tight ends. I think if you look at Olsen going backwards, he's one of the best tight ends of all time. We'll see if now just tight. You see a Brock Bowers, what he's doing. Is the standard for tight end just raised? It's hard to kind of say. But look at this, Pete. Look at all these 3 stars. So remember, bolded. If your name's in bold, you're an NFL player. But look at all those 3 stars.
Brian Monroe's an NFL player in our heart.
Brian Monroe is a pro's pro at being the man and just dominating every setting. But yeah, he is. He was a good punter too. So that was a hit in terms of that. But yeah, as far as
makeshift wide receiver, which shows you the future struggles of our recruiting in the next couple of years here, D.
Exactly. I was at practice and Monroe was dominating a receiver. I went to CanesInSight, or at that time it was Grassy.com, the predecessor to CanesInSight. And I was like, hey guys, I was at practice. Monroe was the best receiver out there, and they were going crazy. They're like, how dare you even talk about a punter when that's true? They're recruiting a receiver had kind of fallen off when that's happening. But listen, I just reported like it is, man. The guy was catching touchdowns. Man,
imagine the live show this year if something like that happened. Hey, listen, God. if they don't land Wingo, then it's trending that way.
Some of the losses too, by the way, in this class that I wanted to highlight. This was the year that the Gators really took control of recruiting. Ron Zook just kind of beat Coker up recruiting wise. Andre Caldwell, brother of Rashay Caldwell, I think it was a 2nd-round pick. Reggie Nelson out of Palm Bay, 1st-round pick to the Jaguars. Earl Everett, really good linebacker. So those are 3 guys that we battled Florida hard for, and they won all of those guys. So when you look at Urban Meyer's first championship, those 3 played a huge part in that. That was when Urban Meyer won the championship, really, with Zook's players. Those were 3 battles. We started losing battles to the Gators in this time. Also locally, Dwayne Bowe from New Orleans. We thought he was going to be the next Andre Johnson. Ended up being a really, really good professional receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. He goes to LSU. That was a huge loss at the time and kind of set the table for future losses. Stanley McClover from Dillard. He goes to Auburn. This started a trend of a lot of future NFL defensive linemen going from Broward to the SEC. Kind of an underrated trend, but that happened in the years to come, as we'll go through in the series. Future NFL guys going to the SEC from Broward County, guys that we could have definitely used. And then Shannon was just very weird when it came to DBs, which is why when he was head coach, our DB talent dropped so much. He just had a weird kind of lens for those guys. And we had Pat Lee from Christopher Columbus High School, your boy, who ended up being a second-round freak athlete, would jump over cars. He was a 2nd-round pick out of Auburn in the NFL, but we didn't really pursue him. So he goes to Auburn, and the rest is history. So next class, my boy J.R. Bryant was in the next class, the 04 class. Yep. So, so that trend kind of started there. I like to do lessons learned. One lesson I learned here, I'm a big guy of saying multi-sport quarterbacks. You look at Dorsey, Kyle Wright. Everybody said Kyle Wright's the more physical specimen. He's stronger. He's faster in a straight line. That's your NFL guy. But that's your athlete. But the truth is, Ken Dorsey, in reality, was more athletic than Kyle Wright. Ken Dorsey was a basketball player in high school. That's where Butch Davis offered him. And when you watch him play, Ken Dorsey had a much more athletic style. He was out there, even though it didn't look pretty, before he even got to his last drop, or his last step in the drop, he'd be getting rid of the ball. He's really like a point guard. I mean, really a loose style when you think of him, NFL offensive coordinator, kind of straight-laced guy, but he had a really loose playing style. Effective and smart, but loose, instinctive. Whereas Kyle Wright, everything was tight. Everything was mechanical. Yeah, he had a big arm. Yeah, he could run fast in a straight line, but he wasn't functionally athletic. He didn't have that playmaker mentality. I think that's why I go to, 2 quarterbacks, both from the same region. Kyle Wright, the higher-rated guy, but one of them played other sports. One of them, I don't believe, did. It's not been reported that he did. So when I say multi-sport, and it's not the only thing that matters, but I would compare Wright to Dorsey. And Dorsey, that basketball free style, that playmaking competitive style, which you saw later on with a guy named Cam Ward, who was a big-time basketball player. I think you see that. That's where I think the instincts come in to it.
D, one note on one of the previous names I don't think you mentioned was Terrell Walden. His son is a running back, a walk-on running back on the team right now.
Sure is. Yes, he is. Fast,
and pretty good player. Yeah, I think he had a good. Well, what was it, that scrimmage a couple years ago at Hard Rock that he had a really good scrimmage? Yeah.
Yep. So he is fast. He could play. I think Marty Brown's going to take some of those reps from him, but he is a fast player. I mean, it's about walk-ons. That's a very good walk-on.
He reminds me of a Miles Moo Young offensively, where he could be a scholarship player without a doubt somewhere else.
Yeah, his dad had a lot of speed. That was a selling point with his dad. Brian saying a lot of local and state guys, but I remember Coker receiving a ton of criticism for recruiting nationally too much. Yeah, it was like a combination of both, right? I mean, it was because he did recruit nationally. Those guys, aside from like a guy like Greg Olson, they were pretty bad. But he also took the wrong guys locally, I think. You had a lot of local guys that didn't pan out and a lot of good local guys that left. So a lot of the problem with Coker's recruiting is not necessarily that he didn't have South Florida guys in his classes, is that he took the wrong ones. And I would say Dwayne Bowe was a miss. We tried to get him and we missed. That's a recruiting miss. But like McClover, Pat Lee, and those guys had no business going to Auburn. Those guys should have been Miami Hurricanes, and they would have added to the NFL players on this list.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it, man. Coker had bad evaluation. We'll see as we go down the list. The 2004 class, which we'll talk about tomorrow, that was probably the worst class in the history of college football in context. Certainly the worst class in the history of Miami. I mean, aside from Calais Campbell, who's a Hall of Famer, it was like a program killing class. So we'll go through that. I know it's not the most fun memory lane, but I think this is going to be very instructive. And then afterwards, we're going to be doing a little evaluation of it.
Brandon, yes, I should be live for Wingo. I don't know if D is going to be available or not, but I will be here for that.
Yep, be fun to see how that goes, man. We'll go live, so join us live at 2. Maybe put something up on Twitter, Pete, so people can see, that we'll be live at 2.
Yep. All right, Canes fans, appreciate your support today. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Go Canes.
Go Canes.